Night, Echo snuck out of her room to go see the prince and moving towards the direction of the growling, which shivers were already running down her spine. On getting to the cage where he was locked up, she saw a beast who was ready to attack, and she instantly took to her heels and ran inside her chambers. Part 2. The prince, strolling around his palace, took notice of the timid girl he had once locked up and asked for her immediate release. He apologized to her and invited her to his palace. He did not want her to leave the palace just yet. He offered a proposal to her, saying if she could fall in love with him, he would reward her handsomely. She said, "From what I know, love can't be bought but earned, and it takes time. I'm not interested. There are other girls out there you could be with." He said, "Well, it's you I want, and I'm sorry for the way I treated you. Please give me a chance to show I am now changed." She gave it some thought and accepted his proposal. He would buy her gifts and all, but she turned him down and told him you don't buy love, but earn it. He asked, "How do you do that?" And she said, "Well, by showing you care, asking what I want, asking what I would love to do and not making decisions for me, asking me how I'm faring, talking with me and getting to know the real me. From there, who knows, we might just fall in love." "We, you say," replied the prince. "I don't have the leisure to do that." "Well, there is no other way," she replied, "and you better put your anger and attitude in check, else I will have no choice but to leave this palace." That night, the prince ensured he wasn't close to her, as he did not want her to see him transform and know what he looked like. She could hear growling sounds from her chambers, but she dared not come out. Echo always tried to bring the best out of the prince, as she made it her mission to make him fall for her. She would go on walks with the prince, trying to bring out the other side of him that she and no one else saw, and he would be found smiling so much, and he loved who he was when he was with her. They would be found laughing, reading some books, as he taught her a thing or two that she did not know. They dressed on date occasions in the palace just as normal couples do. Things were going so well, and one day she asked him why he didn't want to let her see him at night. He said he was scared she would run away if she ever caught sight of him like the others did. She told him she would not, and he said he didn't want to take chances. That night, Echo snuck out of her room to go see the prince and moving towards the direction of the growling, which shivers were already running down her spine. On getting to the cage where he was locked up, she saw a beast who was ready to attack, and she instantly took to her heels and ran inside her chambers. She was scared to death and wondered if she could ever love him. The thought of it scared her a bit, even though she was already developing strong feelings for him, but she attributed it to mere pity and because she really needed the money. She had to lie about why she could not meet with him the next day, as she was still a bit frightened, and he went to check up on her. She said she was fine and wanted to be alone. Prince Anok was getting worried, as the time he was given was almost up, as 3 weeks had gone, and he had just a week to ensure she was in love with him. The next day, he went to her and told her that the time given to him was almost up, and he would love to know if she loved him. She replied saying she wasn't so sure, and also asked him if he was in love with her. He said, "Whether I love you or not isn't the problem right now, as it depends solely on you to love me, and not the other way around." She said love is a two-way thing, and if you don't realize it sooner, there is no point in me being here. She got up and left. He was so down and sad in his chambers and reflected on his life. He asked what he had done to himself, that if not for his rudeness, all this wouldn't have happened. He remembered how poorly he had treated people, even with his parents' warning. He paid no attention to it. He was so ashamed of himself and realized that in a few days he would take the full form of a beast. He kept to himself for days, with sadness and waiting to be transformed into a full beast. The prince had already written a letter for his parents to be read by the time they came back, explaining all that happened to him while they were away, which he left by their bedside drawer. Hours before he would take his fate, he stood holding the letter he left for Echo, expressing his love for her and appreciating her for making him see a better side of life, and stating that he actually loved her but was afraid to tell her. There, Echo walked in and rushed to hug him, saying, "I am sorry for living the way I did. I just wanted to be sure of my feelings for you." At first, she accepted because of the money and how much of a help it would be to her family and her ailing mother, that she did not know she would fall for him given he was arrogant, and she wanted to get back at him for what he did to her, but she ended up falling for him. "I am sorry and I love you so much." Just then, the old woman appeared to him and said he was free from the curse and vanished before their sight. He smiled, and with tears in his eyes, he hugged her and thanked her for loving him. They both talked and had a good laugh. The next day, the king and queen returned from their long trip, and they all dined and wined with joy. The king and queen could notice that their son was very different as he talked with everyone around him in a polite manner. They asked if everything was alright, and he said yes and thanked them so much. He introduced Echo as his fiancée and who he would love to spend the rest of his life with. They were so happy for him, and you could tell. The king summoned the prince to his chambers and asked about the letter they found, and asked him to explain what happened in the palace when they were gone. He narrated everything, and they asked him why he did not mention anything, at least stand for them. He said he was ashamed of himself and did not want to bring them any further embarrassment. The queen spoke and said, "I am sorry, son, and my king, I am truly sorry." They were puzzled and wondered why the queen was asking for forgiveness. She said she had always known this day would come. They still were not understanding her, and she began to narrate the story. She said that if he remembered long ago when he was planning to take another wife, that she pleaded with him to give her 2 months, that she went to the great oracle of conception in her mother's village and pleaded for the gift of a child, that the old oracle told her that it was better she did not have a child, that he would end up dying before he clocked 20 years of age. So to spare her the agony of all the pains, it was better she remained childless, and she still pleaded. The oracle said he could see she was a woman with a pure heart, and so what he could do for her was that before her child clocked 20 years of age, he would be tested, and if he failed the test, he would be a beast forever, but if he passed the test, he would have a good and long life. The queen mother was also instructed never to reveal these, or else she would lose her only child. The queen mother narrated that she was so desperate and accepted the terms and conditions given to her as long as she could hold her child and not share her love with another. After narrating the whole story, she pleaded with the king to have mercy on her. He forgave her because he knew his wife meant well. Her son too forgave her because it wasn't her fault either, and they hugged and made peace. The prince gave Echo enough money to see her mother was well again, and they started making preparations for their wedding. As soon as her mother was healed, the royal home regained peace and love, and the prince showed love and care wherever he went, and the kingdom experienced peace and growth in his reign. The end. Some of the lessons to be learned from these stories are: never use your position to intimidate others. Learn to show love and kindness wherever you go. Don't look down on anyone. Kindly comment below other lessons you learned. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.